Welcome back to our Pictures YouTube channel. Today's class will be learning how to make this beautiful infinity dress. So the beauty of this dress is that it can actually be styled in several ways you want. You can even style up to 50 different ways. So if this is something you like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Okay, so making an infinity dress is actually very simple, and I'll be working with this Ankara fabric. It's 3 yards, and I'll be using the entire 3 yards for this project. Okay, so the measurement we need is not much. We need the waist circumference measurement. That's the measurement around your waist, and for me, the waist circumference I'm working with for this tutorial is 28 inches. We also need a bust measurement. That's the bust circumference, and the bust circumference I'm working with for this tutorial is 40 inches. Okay, and then you need your waist to floor measurement. That's the measurement for the skirt part. That's measurement from your waist to wherever you want your skirt to stop. That is your to wherever you want your skirt to stop. So for me, I want it to stop around the knee area. So the entire measurement I'm using for this is 24 inches, which is perfect for me, and I'm using a total of 3 yards fabric. So now to measure my fabric, remember the fabric is in yards, it's 3 yards. So I'm going to cut out the skirt, and the length of the skirt that I'm working with is 24 inches. So now from my fabric, now I'll measure out 24 inches, and then I'm going to cut it out. So that's going to be 24 inches by the entire 3 yards that I'm working with. So from here now, I'm measuring 24 inches, but I'm not going to stop at 24 inches. I'll make it 25 inches with 1 inch seam allowance that I'm going to use to hem it. So I have 25 inches there. Then I'll take my ruler and then I'll measure it. So for my skirt, I'm working with a fabric of 3 yards by 25 inches. That's my actual measurement, including my seam allowance. So after getting that, now I'll take my scissors and cut out the skirt part before I work on the strap for our infinity tie. So now I'm cutting out the skirt. It's going to be a gathered skirt, and you can actually do whatever design you want to do for this. You can make it an open slit skirt, you can, whatever it is. You can also, instead of having a gathered skirt like this, you can have an infinity dress that is going to be under maybe a fitted pencil skirt, a flare skirt, or whatever it is that you want to do. So now I'm setting this aside for my skirt. Now I'm going to work on my infinity tie. So for my tie, remember I took my bust circumference measurement. This is important because this is going to go around the bust, and you don't want to be exposing the bust. So if you use, maybe if you maintain what you have on your chest, which is 28 inches, is not going to cover a bust of 40 inches, and some side of the breast may be showing. That's why you need this bust measurement. By the time we are tying it, you understand this better. So now for this, now I need 2 ties. That's one for the 2 ties for the front. Remember the bust is in the front, so I need 2 ties. That's one for the one half of the front and one for the second half of the front. So the tie is just going to be on the front, so which means the first thing I will need to do now is to divide this bust measurements by 2. So if I divide it by 2, I'm going to have 20 inches for the front and 20 inches for the back. So out of the 20 inches for the front, remember I said I want 2 ties, 2 separate ties at the front. So I'm going to divide it, and that's going to give me 10 for each of the ties. So now I'll also maintain the entire 3 yards, because the longer the better. If you have a very long strap, it will enable you to do whatever style that you want to do. So I'm just going to use the 3 yards that I use for the skirt also, but for the width of that's for the length of the strap. For the width of the strap, I'm going to be using the 10 inches that I need, that I measured for my bust. So because this Ankara fabric is actually 45 inches in length, and remember I've taken out 25 inches for the skirt, so I'm left with exactly 20 inches. So I'm just going to manage it, and then I'm going to hem it with very little, and make sure that it's not too bold, so that I'll not have too many shortage. So now I'm just dividing this into 2 equal parts, because I have 20 inches left of my Ankara fabric, and then I'll cut this. So each one is going to be for my strap. I hope you understand that. So now I'm cutting this now. So for each one of them I have a fabric of 10 inches length, and so by the time I remember this is folded, by the time I open it up you can see that it is quite long. So I have a fabric of 10 inches in width, and the length is 3 yards for each of the strap. And then for the main skirt I have a fabric of 25 inches by 3 yards also. So now the first thing now is to prepare my strap. And to do this, I'm just going to take this to the sewing machine now, and then I'm going to hem it. And like I said, remember I couldn't add an allowance for hemming because I had exactly 20 inches. So I'm just going to be hemming it by maybe a very tiny piece like this, like 1/4 of an inch. Then I'll hem it on the other side also, so that I'll have something is for both sides. And then on this 10 inches part also, I'm going to hem one side. That's the side that's just going to be dangling on the floor, and then the other side I'm going to be fixing to my skirt. I'll just leave it bare. So now I'll take the two to the sewing machine now, and then I'm going to hem it. Okay, so I've gone ahead to hem it, and you can see that it is neatly hemmed on both sides, as you can see. So for this type of infinity dress, if you have a high quality Ankara, that is those Ankara that used to have the same print on both the wrong and the right side, not like this, you can see that this right and wrong side is quite different. So it will be easier for you, so that by the time you're wrapping it will not even be obvious that one side is the wrong side while the other is the right side. And also, like I said, on one end I went ahead to also hem it. That's the end that I'm going to be leaving loose, and then the other end is left like this, still rough. So now the next thing I'm going to do on this rough part now, remember my actual waist measurement is 28 inches. That's 14 inches for the front, which I'm adding this to, and this is around 10 inches in. So that 14 inches, if you divide it by 2, it's going to give us 7 inches for each side of the front. And I'm adding this to it, and this is around 10. This should be around 9 inches because of the hemming that we've done. So now this is around 9.25 inches. So this 9 inches is still more than the 7 inches waist that I want to add it to. So what I'm going to do now is to run a gather stitch to this now, and then I'll gather it to that 7 inches so that it can fit the front waist that I'm adding it to. So on this side that is still rough, I'm going to go ahead and run a gather stitch. That's a loose stitch on my sewing machine. I'm going to run a loose stitch and gather it, and then likewise while doing that I'm going to run a gather stitch on the waist. Remember, this waist is actually 3 yards, and we have to gather it to the 28 inches that we want to work to. So here also on one side of the 3 yards I'm going to run a loose stitch, and then I'll gather it to my waist measurement. So I'll do all this, then I'll bring it back to show us. Okay, so I've gone ahead to run this loose stitch now, and then I'm just going to pick one end, and then I'll carefully gather this to my waist measurement from the 3 yards. So if you don't have up to 3 yards, you can use 2 yards, you can use 2.5 yards, but just make sure that whatever you are using is like around times 2 of your actual waist measurement. For example, if your waist measurement is 30 inches, you should do something more than 60. That's 30 times 2. It shouldn't be less, so that you have a reasonable amount of gathers around that waist. But if you can use more, you can multiply your waist measurement by 2.5 or even by 3 inches if you have enough fabric. So you can see how I'm gathering this, and then if I gather it to a stage, I'm going to take my tape around it and measure what I have. So using this method is actually easy, but you can also do it manually. Okay, so now I'm going to have to gather this, and then I gathered it to 30 inches. Remember, my actual waist is 28 inches, and then on the back side I'm going to add an allowance because I'm using a band for it. But if you'll be using an elastic for this, you don't need to add a zipper allowance to it. So I'm adding the zipper allowance of 2 inches. That's 1 inch for each side of the center back. So 2 inches plus my 28 is going to give me 30 inches, which is exactly what I have here. So now the next thing is to cut out the band. So to cut out the band, depending on the inch of the band you want to work with, you're going to cut a band of 30 inches by maybe 2 inches or 3 inches. Okay, so now I'm gonna have to cut a band of 30 inches, like I said, by 3.5 inches. So I want my actual band to be 2.5 inches in width. So now I added 1 inch to it for folding it on the upper part and then on the lower part. So by the time I do that, I'm going to have my 2.5 inches. So I cut two of these and then I added a very soft gum stay to it just to strengthen the band. So I have two of these. So now the next thing now is for me to get my front part, and to get the front part, I'm going to put it on fold by 2 and then I'll notch it. So these two notches that I have here, they are my center front. Okay, so this is my center front. So, and remember that the waist measurement is a total of 28 inches. So 28 inches divided by 2 is going to give me 14 inches for front and 14 inches for back. So I'm just going to divide the 14 inches for front into 2, and that's going to give me 7 inches. So that 7 inches now, I'm just going to place it on my center front, and then I'll measure the 7 inches up here and then 7 inches like this. So from here to here now I have a total of 14 inches. I hope you can see the marking. So from here to here I have a total of 14 inches, and this is going to be my center front. Okay, so from here to here is one part of my back, and then from here to this is also part of my back. So if you measure this, we'll have 8 inches as against 7 inches that we have for the front. So you can see, because we are going to be adding a zipper allowance to this. Okay, so now the first one I'm going to be sewing to this is my strap. And remember that I said that this strap is longer than the actual 14 inches. Remember the 14 inches from here to here. So this is the midpoint, which is 7 inches. And if you place this, you can see that it has gone past the 7 inches, which is supposed to be here, which is why I run a gather stitch. So I'm going to be gathering it to the 7 inches so that it can accommodate it. So just like I gathered this for the first one, also I'm going to gather it to this space for the first one, and then I'll do this for the second one also. So the way I'm going to sew it, I'm going to sandwich it in between the two bands. So I'll just place it in between like this and gather it. Then by the time I place it on it, I'm going to sew it, and if I upturn it, it's going to be neatly finished. So now I'll do that and bring it back to show us. So I'm gonna ahead to sew it like this. I can see the strap is in between the two bands. So by the time you turn it out, you can see that it is neatly concealed. So we have our band ready now, and then I've closed it on both ends also. So you can actually take this to the ironing table now and iron the ½ inch that you're going to use for your seam allowance if you can't, but you can just sew it, then iron everything all together when you are done. So this is what we have now. We're almost through with the skirt. The next thing is to add your skirt part to the lower part of your band. So the skirt that you've already gathered now, you're going to be adding it to the lower part of your band like this. So now I'll go ahead now and sew this to the lower part of my band, and then by the time you finish this, you're going to close it on the center back and then fix your zipper. So I'll do this now and bring it back to show. Okay, so now I've added the skirt to it, and you can see that it needs both in and out. So now the next thing now, and these are our true straps. So the next thing you need to do now is to take it together and the center back here, then you close the center back here, and then you leave around 7 inches to fix your zipper to it, and you hem it on the hemline, and your infinity dress is ready. So now we'll take it to the mannequin to see the various styles we can form with this. So this is our infinity dress, and this is just one of the ways you can style this dress. So I'll be sharing a different clips on how you can style this. You can just style it even up to 50 different ways. It's very simple to make, and it is very versatile. I hope you enjoyed making this tutorial with me. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment and subscribe to our channel if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.